Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together live here on Facebook every morning at 10:30 in the morning, where we get together to talk about headlines, stories, ideas, comments, suggestions on how to enjoy our lives as English-speaking folk here in Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, the friendliest city in the world, they say. It's actually a friendly city, but the friendliest city in the world? I don't know. One of these days we should talk about the story behind that moniker that our city has. We get together every morning, a lively bunch of local English speakers, as opposed to visitors and tourists and whatnot, who are, of course, always welcome. But our main meat and potatoes here is about living in Puerto Vallarta as English-speaking locals. We take pride on that. It's fun to be an English-speaking local because it's fun to enjoy the contrast and differences and overlaps between the wants and needs of our community and all the wonderful people that come and spend time in our destination for a weekend, for a week, for a month, for a season, you name it. My name is Paco. If this is the first time you've joined us, please write the word new in your comments so that we can give you a proper welcome. And of course, if you have any specific questions that you would like us to address during the broadcast, excuse me, during the broadcast or soon thereafter, just write the letter Q before your question and we will do our best possible effort to make sure that we get to it. If we have an answer for it, we will give you the answer. If we don't have an answer, we won't make one up. That's for sure. Now, let me take a quick look at who's here. It's always great to see folks that join us on a daily basis or quite frequently from all kinds of places. Raymond is right down the street in Colonia Versalles. We've been talking about Colonia Versalles a lot. We have one more video to share for Colonia Versalles, and then we move on to other video walking tours. Vancouver's in the house thanks to Jonathan, and Dana Point, California is in the house thanks to Charlene. My beloved cousin Bobby, she calls me, and I call her Bobby back. We call each other Bobby, and that's a long story. But Norma, my cousin Norma, who lives in Chicago, is the original mom for Luna, my kitty cat. Luna used to be Norma's kitty cat. She was adopted as a baby to be the kitty cat for my goddaughter, Charlotte. And then Norma and Charlotte's life changed when they decided to moved to Chicago with a wonderful man that my cousin Norma met. And Norma said to me, you know, you have to adopt Luna because somebody has to, and that person has to be you. So I flew, my cousin used to live in Guanajuato in the city of León. So I flew to León, Guanajuato and flew back just to make sure that Luna would come to me and stay with me and have a wonderful life. And she's been the best gift. And you know her. You know, she is all excited about hearing the story of her life. As always, yes, there she is, paying attention and making sure that you get all the show notes at the end of the show today. So, Norma, te quiero mucho. It's always great to see you. Yes, what we enjoy now is this beautiful, cool weather, thanks to the hurricane that came and went. Yakima's in the house, thanks to Linda Elfers. and a bunch of other friends. Um, Good morning from Idaho, says Doug. This is awesome. It's always wonderful to see you from all over the place. Judy says, I'm cutting in and out. I don't know why either. I certainly hope this is not a generalized circumstance. Tony says that I'm stopping and starting. If anybody's having problems with the broadcast, please let me know. But things look good from my end. Today we're going to cover all kinds of things from what's going on with legislation of cannabis in Mexico to what's going on with the vaccine, to news about that journalist who was sent to jail, and all kinds of different things that we're going to talk about. A couple of movies that I've been watching, and so forth and so on. So we're going to have a nice program, and we might as well get started with it. So let's jump into the news section. Thank you for confirming that things are good in terms of, well, Marcy says it's perfect for me, but Chris says that it's cutting in and out. That might be like a local internet problem. I hope it's not generalized. Anyhow, here we go. We're going to start with the news. Okay, yesterday was day 0 for the Latin American vaccine project, according to Marcelo Ebrard, who is the Secretary of Foreign Affairs here in Mexico. What does day 0 mean to us? Let me see if I can explain this. As we know, Mexico is partnering with the British pharmaceutical AstraZeneca and the Oxford University to develop a vaccine that will be made available through Mexico and Latin America. According to the words that were said by Marcelo Ebrard, the early testing of this vaccine started in the month of April, was when, at the end of April, is when the first phase of a study was ended, in which 1,700 people participated. These were subjects, British subjects, and what was the goal of this first phase was to demonstrate the tolerance to the vaccine and the immune response. And according to what I'm reading, all 1,700 volunteers developed immunity with the dose of vaccine that they received. The next phase has started, in which they're contemplating testing 50,000 people in England, the United States, South Africa, and Brazil. And it is at the end of November that it will be reported, that the results of this effort will be reported. Based on that, the development of this particular vaccine, or rather the manufacturing of this particular vaccine, will begin in Mexico and Argentina, and the vaccine will be distributed throughout all of Latin America. In Mexico, it's been said a number of times that the vaccine will be made available for free for people in our country. I don't know if it also involves people of foreign extraction that are living in Mexico. I exactly don't know how this is going to work, but it is good to know that maybe, just maybe, we can start talking about an actual vaccine development that we can actually not only believe in, but that will actually happen within the next few months. We will be keeping our eyes on this, because these news do not necessarily jive with the news that we're getting from north of the border in terms of vaccine development and distribution in the United States, which is, of course, our next door neighbor, and it's our closest point of reference for these kinds of news. So we'll keep our eyes on this one. The news that we shared yesterday about coronavirus and sustained decline made international headlines, as you can see from this news item from Yahoo, which I will share with you along with everything else at the end of the show, as we usually do. And but this is, of course, no reason to relax and throw caution to the wind. According to this other headline that comes from Vallarta Independiente, Puerto Vallarta is presently at 80% of its hospital capacity to handle cases. So there are still cases, and this number is quite high, and it should be of concern to those involved. So again, we cannot start relaxing about COVID just yet. We had announced that the mayor of Bahia de Banderas, Jaime Cuevas, had tested positive for the virus. Now he has been unfortunately hospitalized due to complications. We can only hope that this is not going to be something extremely serious and that he will come out of this safe, that he will recover properly. We get an interesting article from Vox that asks the question, is this the end of clubs? Farewell for now to dark rooms, flashing lights, sweaty bodies, and escapism. And this is an interesting article because it puts a very interesting perspective on the relationship between the pandemic and this habit that we have to run into a club and dance and just escape from our reality and so forth and so on. I'm not saying that going to the clubs is good or bad. I'm simply saying that this might be a time in which things might become a little bit complicated for club goers in the near future to enjoy themselves as they used to before. I don't see any questions, so I am going to continue with the news. Beam, 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 beam. You should never be sorry for being late, David. I mean, for those folks that join late, it's nice to have this back and forth interaction. But if you ever show up late, you can always catch the show at a time of day that is convenient to you. Moving on with the headlines, I had talked to you about Paty Aguilar, the journalist that was sent to jail, presumably because she did publicly denounced in front of the president of Mexico, Petronilo Diaz, who is the state attorney for the state of Nayarit, and she continues to be in jail. The update that we have is that the charges for which she is in jail have to do with the fact that she appropriated some land, allegedly, that does not belong to her, and then used deceitful tactics to get people to move into that land, which belonged to some other people. And of course, the details for this circumstance are not shown on the article. But we do see a little bit of the statement made by the authorities in the state of Nayarit to that effect. This says here that she is linked to a process in which she is probably responsible in this business of obtaining land parcels illegally and then selling them when they were not hers to sell. So that's what we have for her. We will continue to keep track of this story to see if there's justice or not justice and what happens there. We've been talking about the legalization of marijuana in Mexico for medicinal purposes, and this has been in and out of discussion in Mexico's Congress. And last we discussed this, I remember we talked about the fact that Congress was going to make a final decision about this sometime during the month of September. Apparently, somebody brought it up to President López Obrador, and he said, yes, there will be a legal reform in the medicinal use of cannabis, and it is right now in the hands of legislators here in Mexico who are trying to figure out exactly how this is going to work. No specific date. Just out of curiosity, I went and looked at this Maya and Hayes cannabis business and pleasure event that is scheduled to take place here in Puerto Vallarta for November 1st and 2nd. Oh, from October 30th to November 2nd. And this is still scheduled, so this has not been canceled like other large-scale events have been canceled elsewhere in the States. This is a 4-day gathering for people that want to know everything about cannabis use, distribution, this, that, and the other, and it should be an interesting event to attend, at least for those of us that enjoy it. So we'll see what happens with that as the date nears. Let me take a quick look at your comments before we move on. I hope the video woes have disappeared. I see that some of you have had it interrupted. Sometimes this happens, by the way, when there is a problem with the internet. The internet comes and goes, and unfortunately, this is a reality that we need to live with. Moving on, let's take a quick look at the weather and some news about Hurricane Genevieve. Before we do that, I see a quick question that just popped in. Do I have a favorite shopping mall in the PV area? A favorite shopping mall? Well, it's not like we're just oozing with them. In the PV area, the only real shopping mall that we have is where Liverpool is, and that would probably be the only one. There is a shopping mall called La Isla, which is the latest one to be built. It is all outdoors, and it has been moderately successful. A lot of stores and restaurants that used to be there are no longer there. Let me ask you back, Michael, what are you looking for in a shopping mall specifically? And maybe if you're looking for a place where you can buy something specific, we can point you in the right direction. But shopping mall experience in Puerto Vallarta is not an experience that we have like you go to a big city and you enjoy the shopping malls there. So I mean, if you were to remove the in the PV area part of your question, I would have to say Guadalajara has fabulous shopping malls. Let me see. Is recreational marijuana legal? Oh, that is such a complicated question, Michael, because as I understand it, you can get busted with a small amount. And that's okay. They cannot take you away for a small amount. Medical marijuana use is the part that is trying to be legislated right now. The challenge with marijuana for normal people like you and I is if you buy it from the wrong person and you get busted doing it, that can be troublesome because, for better or worse, the police are not necessarily well informed in the procedures. So it's a complicated question, but I can look into this, and I will look into this as this particular event nears. Kathleen reminds me that there's Plaza Caracol. Plaza Caracol is actually a cuter mall, in my opinion, because it has more diversity in stores. It doesn't have like big, grandiose department stores, but it's really, really wonderful. Yes, Galerías Liverpool, says Tamara. Lisa says, I would like to go to Maya and Hayes, but I think people will be forgetting about social distancing. Well, you know what, Lisa? You and I won't know that until we get there. So let's go, and if we get there, we can leave if it feels threatening. And that's just the way going anywhere is like. If you start your day by thinking, well, I don't want to go because people will be forgetting about social distances, maybe that's not the most positive way to think about it. I dare say, whatever. Let's go check it out, Lisa. Let's go see what it is. And if it feels crowded and ugly, then we can leave in a huff. Best place for custom-made huaraches. I couldn't tell you, Barbara, because they're not usually very durable. When I first moved here, I thought, oh, I'm going to be a good Mexican. I had been in the United States for 20 years, and I figured I'm going to come here and get custom-made huaraches. And maybe I have girly feet or delicate feet, but I always get blisters, and they don't last that long. So best place for custom-made huaraches. There is a place on Ignacio L. Vallarta, right as you enter Emiliano Zapata. It's on the left-hand side in a corner, and that is a good place where you can get them done. But seriously, consider getting a brand shoes that your feet are going to be comfortable in, and that's just me. What shopping malls should we go to in Guadalajara? Every single one of them, Kathleen. Oh my God, there's great malls in Guadalajara. There's Andares, and there's the Guadalajara version of what is it called? There is Andares, and there is Plaza Galerías, and so forth and so on. There's just great malls in Guadalajara. Let me take a quick look. Michael likes Paradise Plaza in Nuevo Vallarta. That's in Nuevo Vallarta. I don't go to that part of the world very frequently, but I suppose that is also a nice mall. Thank you for that, Lorraine. Well, I think it's a smart attitude for the world in general these days. I mean, we can allow ourselves to take chance on events and places and restaurants and stuff like that. We don't need to stay if we don't like it, of course. Lisa meant to be humorous. I was having dinner with some friends, and sometimes looking at your comments in sequential order is challenging because I don't know if they relate to something I just said or if you're answering one another. Anyhow, enough of that. Let's move on to the weather because I'm caught up with your comments. Bam! Well, before we get into specifics about Hurricane Genevieve, let me tell you that it is now 27 degrees Celsius, feels like 30, and the equivalent in Fahrenheit is 81. We have a 10% chance of rain. Humidity is at 81%. Carrot Weather says, stupid clouds, how am I supposed to keep my solar-powered death bots operational if you're covering up the sun? That was cute. Weather forecast for today is humid and overcast throughout the day. Tomorrow we'll get rain in the evening and overnight, and rain and humid throughout the day. And you're probably wondering, what was all that fuss with Hurricane Genevieve? I was out and about yesterday. There was barely any drizzle, and there was no wind and no anything. Well, that's what happens frequently when you are in a city like Puerto Vallarta. We don't get the big winds unless the hurricane is literally on top of us. We don't get the huge amounts of rain unless it's right on top of us. We do get surges in the waves. You know, the waves definitely get more noticeable. But this time around, things have been extremely mellow. A few people were evacuated. 40 people were evacuated from a town called Cihuatlan as a preventive measure, but there were no affectations. There were no problems with Hurricane Genevieve coming through the region. We can take a look at this fancy live map that shows. Now I really feel like a weather forecast dude. It shows Hurricane Genevieve. Here I am stroking it. Closer to Baja California than it is to us. So it has now been downgraded to Category 3, and it will not be doing much harm to us in the rest of its path. Now, moving on to other topics, I'm going to start with a little commentary on how we use our cell phones, our mobile devices to capture video. It is very common nowadays for some people to just lift the phone and start capturing video in this format. And what this turns out to do is produce vertical video. Now, vertical video is extremely popular for those of you and those of us that are looking at video on the phone. But by simply turning the phone around, it's easy to capture horizontal video. And there's a subtle difference, or more than a subtle difference. A lot of times when I'm doing work with video and this and that and the other, there is a lot of what sounded triple X? What did I say? I don't even know what sounded triple X. Anyhow, you flip the phone sideways and you get standard horizontal video, landscape format video. And a lot of times it makes more sense to shoot horizontal video. Why? Well, this particular headline that I'm going to share with you, or this website, shows a whole lot of iconic movie scenes and what they would look like if they had been shot using vertical cinema. And it's a funny commentary on glamorous, spectacular, widescreen shots that we know and love from iconic films, and what would have happened if they had been filmed vertically. So this is a fun watch and a nice reminder for us to think twice sometimes when we're doing video, whether we want to do it this way or we want to do it this way. Who knew? I also want to share a trailer for those of us that enjoy end of the world movies and disasters, things like that. There's a new series called Utopia that is coming to Amazon Prime. I certainly hope this is one of the ones in which they're going to share the English soundtrack and the English dialogue with us, because the last thing we want is for this thing to start with ominous music and then a voice saying Utopia when the title comes in. This is an 8-part show that is based on it's written by executive producer Gillian Flynn, who is responsible for Gone Girl, and it is adapted from a series, and it focuses on a group of youths being hunted down by a shadowy government organization after finding a graphic novel that contains clues about a biological warfare virus that could spell the end of humanity. Sound familiar? Well, it is familiar, and it's probably based on the kind of life that we're living today. There is a trailer on this page that I'm going to share, but I couldn't click to it from this particular page, so I'm going to share the YouTube link as well. I also wanted to share with you that the Latin Grammys are coming up in the month of November. They're going to be broadcast from Miami. Now, what would that have to do with our lives here in Puerto Vallarta? Well, as we immerse ourselves in Mexico's culture or Latin American culture, it is interesting to see what's going on musically, locally. And this may or may not be interesting to everyone, but something that I love about the Latin Grammys, and Latin Grammys have to do with both Latin artists and Latin rhythms, is that it allows me to learn a lot about what kind of music is being produced in Latin America, which may not be as visible or noticeable in the other Grammys show. So I always keep an eye on the Latin Grammys because I always find lots of wonderful inspiration on new music to listen to. I have 2 more headlines. The first one has to do with Google Maps. Google Maps is getting a beauty makeover sometime in the near future, which will result in clearer maps and better features for those of us. We've been talking about maps in the last couple of days, so this makes me very happy to see, and I'll keep you updated when this actually shows up locally. And the last headline that I have to show you is, do you remember LadyCovid? We looked at LadyCovid a few weeks ago, and she was this gal that hopped on a plane, and she was apparently snookered, and she started filming herself in the plane and saying really rude things about, COVID isn't real and let's just distance ourselves from this and yada, yada, yada. And she was eventually forced out of the plane. Well, LadyCovid is back. As many ladies and lords, she was probably just looking for attention. She has been identified as Karen Fernanda, and she has now offered an apology for her behavior and shared some photographs of her vacation in Cancun. So there she is on the left-hand side when she was doing all that ruckus on the plane. There she is on the right-hand side. And she says, I am now apologizing and I'm going to take better care of my family and so forth and so on. She says here, a mistake does not define who we are as people, but the learning that we obtain is wonderful. I'm sorry for the embarrassing incident of last week, and I would like to offer an apology if I offended anyone. And then she shows us these stunning photographs of her vacation. There she is. So was she really for real trying to draw attention to herself, or what's the story? All I know is that if I was her and I had just had these done, I would baptize them as Punta and Mita. like this is punta, this is mita. Together they are punta mita. Anyhow, that's what I would call my breasts if I had breasts and I had them done. I thought you should know that. If I ever get a boob job, I'm going to call my breasts punta and mita. But maybe I will not do that. At least not in this lifetime. Anyhow, these are the news. Oh, I see a fabulous comment from Claudia. Gillian Flynn is a talented woman director and scriptwriter. Thank you very much for that, Claudia. I love those types of movies and series, so I'm very much excited about that. I'm glad to see that other people get excited about the Latin Grammys. This is fantastic. Let me take a quick look at other comments that you may have shared. Dana tells us that the harbor master has closed the port of Vallarta for the week. I certainly hope that they open it for Saturday, because you asked for videos of some beach, and I might be able to produce that for you. My husband was laughing about that. I wish I knew what that was about. I see a lot of comments that I don't get. Maybe you're just having a wonderful conversation among yourself, which is absolutely fine. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Kathleen is watching the series Killing Eve. I have to look for that one. Oh, Linda wants to see what my t-shirt says. How do you know? Oh, this one. My t-shirt is my kitty cat t-shirt, and it says, "Meow, you doing?" See? Meow, you doing? That's what my t-shirt says. And of course, Luna is paying attention because I said meow. Oh, look at her. Are you happy? Are you a happy kitty? That's just Luna keeping us company. Anyhow, let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Beep, beep, ba, ba, ba. Lady Karen, Punta and Mita. Kathleen wrote an interesting, actually, I shouldn't make fun of people that enhance their bodies, because Kathleen wrote a beautiful essay on her website about how she removed her punta and her mita. And I know from some women, friends of mine, that at some point they thought they wanted punta and mita on their chest, and then they changed their mind. So again, I've said this before, Kathleen has a beautiful, honest, personal blog that everybody should read. I just love it. Let's see. Yeah, I think maybe Karen Fernanda just wants to be noticed. Oh, absolutely. And this is the beautiful thing about influencers and YouTubers and people that post stuff online. I mean, it's just fascinating. Okay, so I'll have punta and mita, and Logan says he's going to enhance himself with what? Miss and Maloya. I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys are too funny. I'm glad you like my t-shirt. I bought it in Guadalajara a million years ago, and I just love wearing it. It's one of my comfortable t-shirts. Killing Eve is excellent. Just started season 2. I love this because you guys give me so many inspiring ways to occupy my time. What's going on today? Today I'm going into town because I have business to do in town, but I'm bringing the camera. I want to do some videoing around Isla Rio Cuale. I'm going to take a look at that new Axis step that was built next to River Cafe, the one that is wheelchair accessible. And I'm going to do some more videoing here and there and everywhere because I want to have enough content to share with you for next week. As you know, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm going to be out of town. I've given myself a vacation. I'm going to San Sebastian. So Monday morning, we will have our usual live show. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, I will have pre-recorded segments for you so that you don't miss me, because I'm going to miss you. If I get to San Sebastian del Oeste and I find that there is enough bandwidth from San Sebastian for me to be able to do live broadcasts from there while I'm gone, I will be happy to do that and show you around. If not, then at least you'll have some pre-recorded things. Doreen asks, how is my car doing? My car is dead, Doreen. The damage is not something that I can afford right now. Or if I could afford it, I would choose to spend the money differently. So my car is being reassembled at the dealer to be towed back to my driveway to stay there unusable until I finish paying for it. And at that point, which will be at the beginning of next year, I will decide whether I want to resuscitate it or I want to sell it for parts or what. The good thing is that for the most part, I'm not doing a lot of traveling right now, and getting around the city is as easy as an Uber. Does that make me happy? No, it doesn't. But it is what it is. I am healthy. I am happy. I have bills paid. I have a house to live. I have food in my pantry. I have a kitty cat that loves me. Did I expect to lose my car in such a stupid way? No, but shit happens. With that in mind, does Luna get to vacation with me? Well, she gets to vacation from me. My beloved next door neighbor, Dina, is going to look after Luna and come spend time with her while I'm gone. Are the river shops open? I imagine you mean the Isla Rio Quale shops, and that's what we're going to find out today. The last time I walked down the Rio Quale, the shops were indeed open. So I'll keep you posted on that. Michelle asks, how are you getting to San Sebastian? We are carpooling. I'm going with a group of friends, and we're taking 2 cars. So that's how I'm getting to San Sebastian. A few days ago, some people asked, how does one get to San Sebastian if you don't have a car? And the easiest way to get to San Sebastian if you don't have a car is to either hire a taxi cab that will take you there and bring you back, or work with somebody like Astrid Van Dam's Superior Tours to hire a van, or maybe rent a car. There is a bus, a city bus that will take you there, but it stops at La Estancia on the highway, and there is a 10-minute drive from La Estancia to San Sebastian, and you cannot get off the bus and anticipate that there will be a taxi cab there to take you for that last stretch. So I'll keep you posted. Needless to say, while I'm in San Sebastian, I'll be doing a lot of footage because I haven't been in a while. So I'll be looking at what's new restaurants, what's new around town, and so forth and so on. It'll be a lot of fun. So it'll be a working vacation. Still, it'll be a nice change of pace. And this is a good point, I think, to wrap this up. As always, I am so very happy to share quality time with you every single morning, and I'm so happy for your comments and questions and suggestions and whatnot. And as always, I wish you a great day. Please stay dry. We might still get some rain, and stay safe and stay kind and stay in touch. And we'll get together sometime in the near future, hopefully tomorrow. Take care.